Hello, everyone. My name is Travis Whitaker. This is a case study analysis titled Communication Failures, and it's for my class at National American University. The class is Advanced Project Management, and my instructor is Dr. Jimmy Flores. Some stuff we're going to go over in this case study analysis. We're going to look at the case study overview, what it entailed. We'll break down the project team structure in this case study. As well, then break out the questions, talking about the importance of communication skills, the right person for project management, and then I'm going to break down communication issues that the project manager had with 4 different employees. I'll do one more additional communication failure that did happen that I noted in the case study. We'll look at overall lessons learned and then wrap it up with conclusion. All right, so case study overview, background of the project. Herb, he's the project manager for this project. He was a technical expert and he had a PhD in engineering. Uh, he had a very broad knowledge of research and development and manufacturing, and that's why he was selected for the project manager role. This was a 2-year contract for the customer. First year was to focus on research and development, and then by year 2 they were supposed to move into manufacturing. Um, I kind of broke out the 2-year timeline below. When they're going through research and development, they were going to do the design, a bunch of product research, the testing that goes along with it, some technical analysis, and then refine that prototype. And then year 2, when they moved into full up manufacturing, there was supposed to be production planning, material procurement, manufacturing setup. They were going to execute the production and then deliver the product. Big thing to note was Herb had little project management training or real team leadership experience, and that was seen throughout the case study. All right, the project team structure. So you had Herb, and he had 4 employees below him. Herb was the project manager. Alice, she was the research and development coordinator. You had Bob, he was the engineering coordinator. Betty, she did all the documentation, the reports, the records, and then she was also the person who went out and procured all the items. And then Frank, he was the manufacturing engineer that was going to lead the team in producing the product. All right, moving into the case study questions. So question 1 was really about the importance of communication. The question was, how important are communication skills in project management? I kind of want to point out some key points here. Communication is one of the most important project management skills you can have. It really ensures that team members understand the overall expectations and responsibilities of the project and what they're trying to execute. Effective communication will reduce misunderstandings and conflicts. It improves the coordination among departments, and a key point here is poor communication can lead to delays, cost overruns, and really reduced morale from teammates. Some evidence from the case study, there was multiple misunderstandings that occurred every single day. Team members acted on assumptions rather than confirmed information. It seemed like the Herb didn't bring the team together to be, here are our expectations so everyone can perform to it. That probably would have been a good thing to do. And then last piece of evidence, decisions were made without involving appropriate stakeholders. Multiple times different people would make decisions on stuff without seeking out the stakeholders. I'll get to it later, but a prime example was somebody went out and the procurement coordinator, she went out and procured items, and she for the prototype, and she didn't get with the development coordinator, so there was a disconnect there on purchasing the right item, and it led to issues down the road where they had to go out and rebuy items. Um, Overall, to answer the question about the importance of communication skills in project management, communication directly influences project success and stakeholder satisfaction, so it is very important in any project effort. Question 2, this question was about who the right person was for this project manager. The question was Herb the right person to be assigned as project manager? So I broke out his strengths and weaknesses here before I answered the question. Strengths, he had strong technical knowledge. He had extensive experience with research and development and manufacturing, which were the 2 year stages for the project. So that definitely helped. He was respected by everyone as a subject matter expert, and he had a familiarity with customer and project requirements. So that definitely helped him along the road. I would say some of his weaknesses, there was no formal project management training. He had limited leadership experience, which was very evident. Weak communication management skills. You need to communicate every steps of the project, and he did not do that. And then he did not establish clear communication processes. So to answer it, was he the right person? Herb was technically qualified, but not fully prepared for the project management role. Also, project management training and mentoring probably would have increased his chances of success. The organization didn't provide that to him, but that definitely would have set him and the team up for success. Moving on to question 3, these were about communication issues that Herb had with each employee. So I broke them out into 4 areas for each team member. First, communication breakdown happened with Alice. The situation was Alice expected Herb to write her recommendation for her promotion at the end of the project. Um, Alice never directly asked for a recommendation letter. She just assumed that Herb was going to give it to her. Uh, and she assumed that Herb would understand what she wanted. And Urban would always interrupt the conversation and would never let her get to a point where she could actually say it. And that led her to be very disgruntled. Lessons learned, requests should be stated clearly and directly rather than relying on implied meaning. You need to state what you want, what you need, and there should be open communication in the project team to allow that to happen. All right, the next communication breakdown happened between Herb and Bob. So Herb verbally instructed engineering technicians to change testing temperatures. Uh, Instructions were given verbally only. There was no documentation put into place. Uh, Herb failed to verify that the technicians understood and remembered the changes. Once again, leading back to the documentation, it wasn't documented, and then he never followed up with them to verify that it happened. And then Bob's department required written communication, which Herb did not provide. Lessons learned, important technical changes should be documented and confirmed through feedback. So document what you want the change to be, and then follow up and make sure that it's actually happening. The next communication breakdown happened with Betty. And it happened with the purchasing that I got to earlier. So Betty purchased manufacturing materials after being asked to investigate costs. Herb intended for Betty to gather pricing information. Betty interpreted the request as authorization to purchase materials. Expectations and authority levels were not clearly communicated. So Betty went out and purchased without getting pricing information for Herb to make a decision on if it was the right materials or not. Lessons learned here, project managers must clearly define the scope of assigned tasks and decision-making authority. It starts at the beginning of the project where you sit down and have a kickoff meeting and you lay out assigned roles and who has the authority to make what decisions. All right. The next communication breakdown happened between Frank and Herb. Frank was not consulted before procurement decisions affected manufacturing. So he's a key stakeholder and he was excluded from the decision-making process to actually purchase those items. Frank's expertise could have prevented unnecessary spending. They spent the money to buy parts that didn't work, where if they got with the actual manufacturing lead, they would have known that those parts wouldn't have worked. And the manufacturing concerns were not considered when they were a key part of delivering a certified product to the customer. Lessons learned here, relevant stakeholders must be involved in decisions that affect their area of responsibility. If it affects somebody, include them in on the conversation. They might have insight into something that you don't know because it's their area of responsibility. They'll know what it is that they could help with and make sure that you're making the right decision. And in this case, it comes to procurement. All right, there was one additional communication failure that I wanted to touch on. Wasn't part of the question, but there was a communication breakdown with Herb and the project sponsor. So the sponsor expected a cash flow report, while Herb expected only a discussion. So the sponsor's expectations were unclear. Herb interpreted the request differently, and neither party confirmed understanding. It's important, especially when the sponsor expects some sort of deliverable, that you understand what the deliverable is and that you can meet the intent of that. Some lesson learned from this: project managers should confirm expectations and document meeting the deliverables, and need to understand what the project sponsor wants and you can provide for them. I think this was a simple communication failure, but if it was addressed early on and got clarification from Herb as the project manager, it wouldn't have happened. So overall lessons learned: never rely on assumptions, always confirm with everything. And that leads back to building a good project management team where they feel comfortable and they can come forward and speak to those whenever they need to. Use written communication for critical information. Always document everything, even if it's just a follow-up email from a conversation, to make sure that it's documented. Confirm understanding through feedback, just making sure you follow up with whoever it is and making sure they understood what you were trying to say or do. Clearly define responsibilities and authority. This leads back to the beginning of the project, having the project kickoff meeting and clearly defining those roles and decision-making authority for each person. And then including stakeholders in relevant decisions. If it affects one area of the team, make sure they're involved so that they can identify issues that you might not see. Establish your communication procedures early in the project. This is important. Just make sure everybody knows their communication channels and has a voice to be heard. I threw up this chart here on the right, and it shows as you progress through the project life cycle, um, poor communication can impact uh, as you progress through the project, and it really affects cost and schedule impact because of this. Prime example was with purchasing the items that couldn't be used in the production process. It could have been caught early and they would have saved money and possibly the schedule affected by waiting on new material to come in. And then the last lesson learned was technical expertise alone does not guarantee project management success. Just because Herb was the expert in research and development and the manufacturing, he was the subject matter expert, it doesn't mean that he's going to be able to produce a successful project. So conclusion, communication failures were the primary cause of problems in this case study. Herb possessed strong technical skills, but lacked those project management communication skills. Effective communication requires clear messages, feedback, documentation, and stakeholder involvement. The whole life cycle there for effective communication is clearly stating it, following up, documenting it, and then making sure the right parties are involved. Successful project managers must combine that technical knowledge with strong leadership communication abilities. Just because you have all the technical knowledge, you need to be able to communicate that well to your team. And I wanted to leave with a closing statement here. Bottom line, projects succeed when communication is clear, timely, and documented and understood by everyone involved. Here are my references, and I appreciate everyone's time, and you all have a great day.